Okay, we're live. First ever afternoon snack episode with a virtual guest. So, welcome, Allie Lamay.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Where are you?
Vermont, just outside of Burlington.
Okay. What's it like
Yeah.
there right now?
It's kind of like dark and dreary. It's like probably 40 something degrees, so not too bad for November in Vermont, but could
Yeah.
be better, could be worse.
We're actually getting really similar weather here. So, it's like not quite cold enough to snow, but it is unpleasant and muddy and gray.
Yeah, great time of year.
It's the brown season. Cool.
Great.
Well, we're super
Yeah.
happy to have you on. Um, a lot of our followers are probably somewhat familiar with you because you're fairly active on Instagram. Um, so I think that, you've posted about your story and I hate the word journey, but I'm going to use the word journey here a few times. And it's a great story. And we always appreciate how open you are. It's been a long road for you. 8 years, over 8 years, I think, at
Yeah.
this point. And yeah, we're excited for the insight that you can provide into that process. And not only for Alec, it's interesting for us as coaches, but also people who are sort of looking to embark down that road
For sure.
themselves. So, some intro for people who don't know. Allie was my first ever nutrition client. So we met, hooked up back in 2017, started working together then. Not really sure how you haven't gotten tired of me yet.
I mean, you're still
But
hanging around with me, so
yeah, it's a good match. Yeah. I've definitely enjoyed it. So, obviously, like, I know a lot about you. Alex knows a lot about you because we talk about you a lot. Don't let that
cool.
make you feel weird.
Yeah, it's
But,
awesome.
yeah, I guess what we want to do here is just kind of open it up for you to tell us and the listeners a little bit about your story that, it actually began well over 8 years ago. So kind of where were you at that point in your life? What led you to the point where you thought you wanted to make some changes, and what was the catalyst for those changes?
Yeah, yeah. I also strongly dislike the word journey, but if you find a better word for it, let me know because I don't know like what else you call that. But yeah, a little over 8 years ago, I guess I was like 26, 27. Started a new job at like a bigger corporation that provided a discount to a local gym. And I obviously knew that like I had some health issues to work on, and I was overweight. And being athletic, like my whole life, I played sports growing up. I played travel softball, travel basketball, college softball, and then just after college, I kind of really started gaining weight. I mean, in college too, I started gaining weight, but afterward, like not having that activity or like a set routine really kind of hit me. And it was at this point, like I had that opportunity to check out the gym at a discounted rate. It included a free like initial consultation with a personal trainer. So I was like, oh, I'll check it out, see what's going on. So I went in and I met with this woman, this personal trainer, and she kind of just asked me, we sat down in her office. She's like, what are your goals? What's your history? What would you like to get out of this? And I was like, yeah, like I kind of told her, I talked for like a couple minutes. I was just like, yeah, I want to get a little healthier, get active again since I haven't really been. And she just kind of like came at me, man. Like I think this is what I really needed. And I don't know if it's like the right approach for everyone, but she was very blunt. She was just like, the way you're going right now, you're going to have a lot of health problems. Like you're going to run into a lot of issues down the road and you might even die young. Like she said those words. She's like, you're probably going to die at a young age. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm pretty sure I started crying, sat there for like a few minutes, and then decided to work with her because that was just kind of like the turning point for me. Someone being like, you got to get your shit together. Like, obviously, like I was there, I knew I needed to do something, but like her just being like, bro, what are you doing? Really kind of like kickstarted the whole like journey around 8 years ago. And yeah, I worked with her for like a year. I really liked working with her, but personal training, it's like once a week. It's like, it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's way more than a CrossFit membership monthly. And you get one training session a week. And someone like me, who needed guidance back then, trying to go into the gym in my larger body back then. I just felt super uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do the other 3-4 days a week that I was trying to work out. So that kind of atmosphere wasn't really the best for me. But that was appreciate that start because that really got me going. And then about a year later, I found CrossFit because a friend recommended it to me, and that kind of just took over. Here we are.
Yeah. So you've been doing CrossFit for about 7 years now, then.
Yeah, about 7 years in November.
Yeah.
Well, it is November. Yeah, so 7 years.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, here we are.
No, that's really cool. So at your heaviest, what was your body weight?
I think it was around 311.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
not insignificant.
No, that's amazing.
And that was all. Meredith, I'm pretty sure I'm not recording.
Oh, we're gonna cut this out. Just give me a second. Yeah, you're just muted. It's telling you that you're muted. You're recording on mine.
Okay. It just doesn't turn blue.
Yeah, it's because it can't hear you talking.
Gotcha.
Because you're muted. But your mic is running through mine.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh. So you gained most of that weight after kind of high school, throughout university, and then into your early 20s?
Yeah, so I would say I definitely I was never super small in high school, but I was super active in sports. So I was average size. And then in college, I was oh, I'm playing college softball. I can go to the dining hall at 9 p.m. and have a second dinner, and I'm burning all these calories. No, I'm playing Division III college softball, first base, the least amount of movement possible. So that kind of set up some habits and stuff. But yeah, after college especially, not being active and playing slow pitch beer league softball, and still kind of having those same eating habits, definitely kind of just, oh geez, kept building on top of that. So yeah.
Was that during that time were you what was your level of awareness to that process as it was happening? This is something that I've actually never asked someone who has gone from being somewhat athletic to overweight and then lost it. Is people are very, very aware of the process of getting healthy and losing weight, but I always am curious about what is the level of awareness when you're going the opposite direction.
It's a really good question. I don't think I was super aware of it in college. I was the typical college student, drinking beers, playing softball, going to class, partying a little bit too much probably, not super concerned.
Yeah.
And then, I guess I kind of realized it a little bit because shortstop was always my position. I got to college, started playing first base because I wasn't as quick on my feet as I used to be, down the line. And then, yeah, I guess I became more aware of it once I was in grad school and kind of doing I had a graduate assistantship coaching at Ithaca, coaching softball. And I kind of realized it a little bit more then, oh, you're not nearly as active as you used to be, you're gaining weight. But I didn't think too much of it until probably I was 23, 24 when I was just really starting to gain weight and continued I would come home from work and I'd have a drink because it was a habit, or I'd go get fast food 4 or 5 days a week because I didn't really like cooking. So I kind of started to realize it a little bit more then, especially living with one of my roommates, just realizing she kind of ate and drank the same way I did, but she didn't gain weight like I did. And I kind of just looked at the two of us and I was just huh, that's cool. All right.
Pretty fair.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But yeah, I would say 23, 24, I started to kind of slowly realize that there was obviously an issue going on, but didn't really do much to change it for a couple years after that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common. And, we kind of talk about the concept of willful ignorance, not always in regards to health, although it certainly plays a role there, but even you see it happen with people's finances. It's you choose to be blind to something, and even though hey, this is a problem, my spending habits are a problem, my eating habits are a problem, but that's for future me, I'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of interesting to hear. So prior to, I guess, your meeting with well, actually my first question, when you met with the personal trainer, was it a light switch flipped? Like what kind of, was it an immediate, like, yes, I'm going to do this right now, like just overhaul your whole life? Or was it more of a gradual entry into that process?
No, it was definitely like a light switch. It was like, wow, like I'm done being an asshole. Like this is my life. Like I, I'm 20, whatever, 26, 27. I don't remember the exact age, 8 years ago. I'm 35 now, so maybe 27. But yeah, I was just like, this sucks. Like I don't want to die young. Like I would like to make a change. And she really helped me a lot, with those sessions and like being a good mentor for that year that I worked with her.
Did she stop being so like blunt after you started working with her, or did she retain some level of like, okay, no bullshit here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a combination of the two. Like, she became a little bit softer and like encouraging, like obviously with workouts and like and stuff like that. But like, if she saw me kind of going back to some old habits or being kind of like an asshole, she would call me out on it for sure.
Yeah. So in your words, I think around that time you got tired of your own bullshit, and we're just kind of curious, like what was some of that bullshit? Like what habits did you have back then that you had to work really hard to change and get rid of and replace with like new healthy habits?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned it a little bit, but like I would come home from work and I would just like pour myself a gin and tonic, like out of habit. Like, oh, I'm home from work now, it's time to have a drink, like, or two. Or like, oh, I'm not going to cook tonight, I'm going to go get McDonald's. And it's not a big deal. Just like, and not being active at all, like just being so out of a routine coming out of college, like not having like accountability or like people around as much. It's just kind of like, not really like, I guess like not a funk, but like just a new routine, a new super unhealthy routine where I would come home and just kind of, sit on the couch, watch TV, have a drink, snack, do whatever. Yeah.
I have a question to go back to on when your like trainer kind of just said like, hey, do you know that like you're really unhealthy? Like, and Meredith kind of brought up willful ignorance. Like, did you know like there's a potential chance for health issues to die early, and it took somebody to kind of like articulate that to your face to be like, oh shit, like she's right, like I need to like get real here. Because and the reason I ask this is I have we get clients who come in and it's almost like they're out of, and not to sound rude, but there's like there's a dissociation from like reality. It's like they don't quite understand like where they're at, and you want to say like, hey, like you really need to get your shit together because like things are going to go south real fast, but also you don't want to say that and like scare somebody. So I guess I just want, it would be helpful for me at least, and probably for everyone else, to like have a better understanding. Like, was it just somebody saying it to your face, or did the timing of that kind of coincide with the fact that you had decided to go to a gym and you were kind of already about to make a change? Like, what do you think was different for you in that moment?
Yeah, I think like I had like an inkling of some of that, but I don't think like the extremes that she was saying. Like I was like, oh, I'm unhealthy, like whatever, I'm overweight. It's, it's an issue, but it's not like that big of an issue. Like I've been overweight for years now. I'm just kind of chugging along. But I definitely didn't think it was as like, it didn't register to me that it was going to be as big of an issue as it would have been, or as it was. Like I wasn't thinking, like diabetes or like heart issues, heart health, like, and she's just like, you've got all these potentials, like, are you thinking about your future? Like, and I wasn't like, I say like a lot, sorry. But yeah, no, I wasn't. And like, I guess it didn't really dawn on me the extent of the problems I could be facing until she kind of just said it to my face. Like like I said, I had like an inkling that there was some potential issues, but not to the extremes that I was kind of putting myself in, the position I was in.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Let's talk about really quick well, not really quick, I imagine this conversation will be a bit longer. The role of CrossFit specifically, and then to break that down, the role of the CrossFit community specifically in your ongoing success.
Yeah, so CrossFitting for 7 years now, like we said. Kind of found it when I was at like this place at the gym with my personal trainer, where things were just like boring and stale, and like I wasn't seeing as much progress as I had been. I think I'd lost probably about 50 pounds at that point. And one of my friends was just like, oh, like I started CrossFit a little while ago. You should check it out. It's really fun. And I had no idea what CrossFit was. Like I had never heard of it before. I was like, all right, like I'll Google it or whatever. So I think I Googled it that night, and I came up with pictures from like the CrossFit Games, and I'm seeing like Rich Froning and like Annie Thorsdottir, and I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I'll definitely check it out. Put it at the top of the list. But no, so I think I saw her again like a week later, and we chatted. She's like, so did you check it out? And I'm like, yeah, bro, no. Like, are you kidding? She's like, no, like, here's the gym I go to, like, check out their website, like, send them a message. So I did that, and it looked way more reasonable. Obviously, like, there's people, like, average people that go, and look like me and look, some people look super fit. Some people look like me, a little overweight, trying to get healthier. So I reached out, via email. One of the owners got back to me. She's like, yeah, we have classes on Saturdays. If you want to come by, like, you can check out the last half of the class, and then we can chat after. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And honestly, like, driving over that Saturday that I went to check it out was probably like one of the scariest moments of my life. Because like, still, like, I saw like average looking people on the website. Like, I did my research like on their Facebook page or whatever, but like, it was still like CrossFit. Like, it's very intimidating for someone that's not used to working out or doing like a lot of fitness, or is overweight. So I mean, I got there, I checked it out. And like I said, there was a lot of people that looked kind of like me. A lot of people that were super fit and intimidating. But I spoke with a few members, I spoke with the owners, and I think I signed up the next day for Foundations. And here we are 7 years later. I couldn't be happier with that decision. I got my CFL1 in 2018, so 3 years ago. Been doing like part-time coaching like once or twice a week, which is pretty awesome to think back from like being intimidated to even go check it out to now like I get to coach there. So I feel pretty lucky about that. And just like looking back at like where I started, like as like being scared to even walk in the gym, and now it's like my favorite part of the day, and being intimidated by those super fit people, and now like having people tell me that like I intimidate them. Like, it's just super surreal to like think about like how much has changed.
Yeah, it's been awesome to observe. I was just, when you were talking about being super intimidating, what's your deadlift? Best ever?
Best ever is 375.
Yeah, that's a big ass
That
deadlift.
explains it.
Yeah, I would be intimidated.
It's funny with CrossFit, like your experience going into CrossFit, your first CrossFit class is very similar to my first cross. Like, I remember being so nervous, and I was like in good shape coming from like I was just coming off of like 4 years skiing on the NCAA circuit. I think like, and that could be because I have a little bit of social anxiety, but I think like regardless, like going into a new community that's tight knit, like any CrossFit community is pretty tight knit. Now knowing that in hindsight, and also just, yeah, there's always, going to be somebody who's like super fit or just like, I don't know, you're new, and so it's interesting. Like, I think everyone feels that to some degree, but it's pretty sweet that you kind of just like jumped in with both feet right away. Just like, I think a lot of people probably like say like, oh, I'll think about it, and then maybe they don't, and they miss out.
For sure. And I think CrossFit's special like that with just like the community aspect. Like, it's intimidating walking into a situation like that with such a tight-knit group and community, but like once you're in it, it's like you're part of it. Like, you're there. Like, they got you. I mean, some of my closest friendships have just developed over the last 7 years from CrossFit, and like even just acquaintances, like the people you get to meet on a daily basis, like at classes or coaching, like people you would never interact with otherwise, like outside of CrossFit. It's just really cool to see the different dynamics and personalities.
Have you been at the same gym since you started?
Yep, same one, all 7 years.
Cool.
Yep.
What gym is that?
802 CrossFit in Essex, Vermont.
Seems like a good one.
It's a good one, for sure.
Do you have that leads me into another question that we have, and that's kind of to touch on the importance of sort of tribes in our life. Like humans are, like we're all social creatures, even ones, you know, those of us who do have some social anxiety or introverts. Like I think it's human nature to seek out groups where you can fit into, like whatever your social role tends to be. I think that's common, and it's not uncommon for people to fall in with, I guess, kind of toxic friend groups and tribes that make making positive changes a little more difficult. So I'm just curious if you ever found yourself in a situation where you kind of had to maybe move on from relationships that weren't serving you, or at least the direction that you wanted to go in.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and I don't even know if I want to say like move on, but like definitely have some distance between like some closer friendships that I had 8 years ago, you know, doing like slow pitch softball. It's like you're playing softball, you're drinking beer, like you're going out after games, eating pizza, whatever, like totally different. Totally different than like CrossFit, where you know, when I first started, people were all about paleo and like not drinking, and like it's just like a completely different vibe. So to have those two like kind of merge, like I still play the occasional slow pitch softball, but like it looks a lot different. Like I'm not drinking in the dugout or funneling beers like on the sidelines like I used to be. And you know, at first I definitely got a lot of like pushback, like because you know, I was known for like drinking and like and eating and like just being like the life of the party. And so people were like, you know, what's going on? You know, I don't want to say they weren't supportive, but like they definitely, I don't know if they just like missed who I was and thought that I was like boring or whatever now. But I definitely started to distance myself from like that crew a little bit more. And it's natural too. Like I made friends at CrossFit that had more similar interests that were aligning with where I was at in the moment. So I think like with any friendship, sometimes, you know, you just grow apart. You have different priorities in your life at that time, and you kind of just like fade. I still love all of my softball friends. Like I was in a bowling league with a bunch of them for a while. And I still try to play when I can, but it's definitely different than it was. Not ripping beer funnels, yeah, beer bongs.
Do you ever miss the like drinking aspect? Like you know, we have clients again who come to us and it's like, you know, I understand that I need to, you know, cut out a certain amount of alcohol and like food to lose weight and regain my health, but I don't necessarily know if this is sustainable, because it's very difficult for me to, you know, act like use my willpower or not go out. And you know, it maybe it's because that person hasn't necessarily found a new tribe that's like, I've found a different place, and that kind of takes the place of your old life, I guess, not to sound like dramatic, but
yeah. And I think that was for me like one of the bigger struggles I think that Meredith probably had working with me too, is I drank a lot when we first started working together. Like probably 4 or 5 days a week at least I would be like having drinks. And it was definitely a lifestyle change, and like kind of evaluating like, why am I having those drinks? Is it like just a habit? I get home from work, I have a drink, like I said, or is it like a social peer pressure situation? Like what's going on where I'm having that much alcohol on a regular basis? And I think it was just kind of like a combination of habit and like peer pressure at softball. You know, I'm in the dugout, someone's like, oh, you want a beer? I'm like, yeah, obviously, like give me a beer. No question. But then like trying to just flip those habits and being like, okay, well, why don't I just have a drink? Like if I feel like it, like if I'm out and about, like in a social situation and I feel like having a drink with friends, cool. But I don't need to come home from work and have a shitty PBR just because it's a habit, or like some crappy gin. So I kind of I've gotten a lot better. I still drink occasionally, a couple drinks a week probably on like the weekends. But it's typically like if I'm looking forward to trying like a new whiskey or a new beer, or at a new brewery with friends. So it's definitely been a big shift, and it's been about the entire time we've been working together for sure. So like 3-4 years kind of shifting away from that just like binge drinking habit to just a more like conscious decision making, like when I have drinks, when I don't, how it affects my next day, my sleep. Ugh, like I like sleep too much these days to have shitty sleep because I had one too many beers. So
I find that very relatable. The sleep thing.
yeah. Seriously, like 2 beers and I can't sleep. It's like
It's weird
ridiculous.
because when you're younger and you drink a lot in college or whatever, which I definitely did too. I mean, I don't know if what you do after you drink is technically sleeping. Like, I guess you just pass out. But I don't know.
You're like half dead.
But it's, I guess as an adult, you don't just pass out. You like kind of try to sleep, but then you're like very acutely aware of how uncomfortable you are because you're like very much just either still drunk or like at the beginning stages of being very hungover.
You're trying to get a sense of how bad the hangover's actually going to be.
Yeah.
You're just like paranoid that you're like, okay, I'm feeling a little nauseous.
Yeah.
I've made a grave mistake.
Why are my legs so restless? Yeah.
That's really interesting. That it's cool that it was just like, I mean, you like a 3 or 4 year transition. That's quite a while, but it probably speaks to the sustainability of the approach.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it wouldn't have been realistic for me to just be like, I'm going to stop drinking. Done.
Yeah. Did
like,
you ever
even
like,
now,
do
like,
anything? Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just to say, even now, like, for me to just be like, I'm going to like cut out drinking for 30 days. Like, for me, that's just stupid. Like, then what am I going to do after 30 days? Like, I don't understand.
We get
those.
a lot of people who they're like, I'm going to have a dry October, or like, you know, in like January is a very common dry month for people. I'm like, but why? Like, what do you do February 1st? Do you go on a bender?
Yeah.
Like, what's February 1st?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
find that approach to be really sort of silly. Have you ever done anything like that? Like, cold turkey, I'm not going to do this thing, or like, I'm going to do this 100% of the time. Have you ever done that with anything?
I mean, kind of. When I first started 8 years ago, I did like one of those shake diets. One of those really shitty shake diets. So it was like drink 2 shakes a day, eat like 1 meal and maybe 1 snack. But it also came with like this fasting day. So like you would eat nothing. And sometimes it was like 2 days. Yeah, it was awful. Like, I don't know how I did it, like looking back, because I love food so much. But, you know, I did that for a good chunk of time and I was like pretty committed. And I think I actually stopped drinking during that time too. But again, like I did it for however long. And then after that, like I was just right back to drinking. Like,
Yeah.
So
I think there could be value if someone's like, I want to have a dry January, knowing that it's for a specific reason. Like, I want to know that I have control over, you know, alcohol. I can say no to it, or I don't actually need candy. It can be a good exercise. But I think with the idea that like you're gonna go cold turkey for the rest of your life, maybe not. Like, that's not the best approach.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think the craziest thing I ever did was one year for Lent, which I think Lent's 40 days. I think I have that right. I gave up meat. I did all like vegetarian for 40 days. That was really terrible.
that sounds terrible.
Time in my life. Yeah. And then of course,
Dark
like
times.
you go right back. I don't remember anything positive that I took from that. Like, it's just something I did that was terrible, and I'm like, I'm never going to do that again, or at least not in that way. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I cut out McDonald's cold turkey in 2011, and I haven't had it since.
You haven't had McDonald's since 2011?
2011. I had a really bad
Wow.
experience that involved pot brownies.
But do you want to elaborate
I had
on that?
I had
Yeah.
probably eaten like in that day I had eaten 10 years worth of McDonald's. So I had turned off of it and just never. And then also in university, like I used to party pretty hard too, like play hard, work hard, play hard. And like I don't know, like whenever you're hungover, it's like all you want is McDonald's or like fast food. It's like the only thing that seems appetizing. And so I would always get McDonald's, and I think I started associating McDonald's with being hungover. So it was like, it didn't actually take that much effort to cut it out. It was a natural evolution.
That sounds great. Did you have a hangover food, Allie?
My go-to is usually like a local bagel shop, like a bacon, egg, and cheese type of deal. But also I was big on the McDonald's for a while, for sure.
Yeah.
Like the hash browns and
Yeah, their hash browns are pretty dang delicious.
yeah,
I
they
was
make
a
good
chicken
potatoes.
biscuit person, but
Mm.
yeah. I don't really know how I did that ever, but okay, let's move on away from fast food. um, so I mean, you were an athlete in college. You were an athlete before college. Like I think you've always had that kind of mindset, and it sounds like maybe even when you weren't at your healthiest. And I think that's common. But I see now like you definitely have that mindset where you're striving to, improve in the gym and like kind of keep moving forward. How do you balance like your desire to be better against appreciating like what you've accomplished in the past? And I want to frame that correctly. I think some people have trouble appreciating the progress that they've made because they are not where they want to be yet. And then the flip side of that coin is some people appreciate too much and become complacent and stop striving. So where's your balance in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really hard because I definitely have moments where I'm like, I've been doing this for like CrossFit. I want to get better. Obviously, that's a goal. I've been doing it for 7 years. I know I'm never going to be like a games athlete or whatever, but I enjoy local competitions and like went to Wadapalooza in the scale division one year and that was super fun. So like I want to keep doing stuff like that and getting better. But like some days I look at myself and I'm like, oh, like you've done one ring muscle up in your life and you haven't done one since. And like I get super down about something like that. But then I look back like at 8 years ago and I'm like, you couldn't even run a mile. Like you couldn't even dream of doing a pull-up, let alone a strict pull-up. Like calm down. Like just keep working. And like if you're going to get the muscle ups, you'll get them. Like it's just, so I mean, I guess it depends on the day. Like some days are harder to kind of appreciate where you are when you're having like an especially bad session at the gym or whatever. When your deadlift is 375 but you're having a hard time with like 300, like you get down on yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's definitely in those moments where I try to like reflect and be like, okay, well, 300 on a deadlift, like you weighed 311 pounds 8 years ago. Like you can deadlift yourself, even if you're just doing 300. Like just trying to really look back and be like, yeah, man, like I couldn't run a mile and I ran a half marathon a few years ago. Like, so it's, like I said, it's harder on some days to kind of appreciate it and get out of that funk. But most of the time I'm able to like tell myself to like just chill out and like appreciate the process. And like, I know I'm putting in the effort that I need to be and doing the best I can. So that's what counts.
When you so on Instagram, and we always try to repost you so that we can share, but you'll post kind of like before and after photos and just a little bit about your journey. What's for you, like what's the reason behind those posts? Is it for yourself to be like I like a reminder of how far you've come, a reminder to keep going? Is it do you feel like sharing your story helps to inspire others? Is it a little bit of a both? Like,
yeah, I think it's definitely a little bit of both. Like it's helpful for me to reflect and like, when I make those posts, I have to think about what I'm writing and like I said, it helps me reflect and appreciate like where I was and how far I've come. But I'm also hopeful that like it'll help someone else that was like me 8 years ago, like scared shitless, like not sure what to do, and thinking, 311 pounds, like trying to lose that and get to like a healthy weight is kind of terrifying. Like it's a big goal. Like, but I hope that people can see that and know that it's like possible. Like you just have to work hard and like not expect results overnight. Like that's why I think it's important sometimes, or most of the time I include like the length of time that I've been doing this, just because like people see before and after photos and they think it's just like a quick thing, but like there's no quick solution. It's building sustainable habits that like you enjoy. Like I did a lot of things. I kind of yo-yoed up and down for a while over the past 8 years with weight. Like I would lose some, then I'd gain some, then I'd lose some, then I'd gain some, before I really found what works for me. And, counting macros and CrossFit have just really helped me be consistent because I just enjoy doing both. Like it's something that's ingrained in my daily life now that, I look forward to.
Yeah, and I think that's like the fact that you enjoy it is really big. I think people get really hung up on doing like the exact right thing, and I definitely used to be this CrossFit zealot, and I thought that everyone should do CrossFit, and if they're not, they're they're missing out, or they're not going to have good results. But I think in my I work with more people than I used to, and I've also gotten older, and calm down a little bit. I think the most important thing is not like the what that you do. It's that you enjoy it and you're willing to do it and you want to do it every single day. And it's the same for nutrition. And obviously, like if you want to eat McDonald's every day, there's a limit to that. But, you know, part of something being sustainable is that it includes, you know, foods and activities that you enjoy. And I can say like from my angle, like you do a good job of that. Like there's not a lot of restriction on your end. Like you definitely, I mean, you still enjoy yourself. You still have drinks when you want them. You have scones. Like you fit things in.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to, because you can't just do a juice cleanse or juice diet for the rest of your life. And you don't want to do definitely don't want to do Whole30 or paleo for the rest of your life. But it probably took you some time to come to that, just like it takes most people some time to come to that realization.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm not going to put anyone down that's like not into CrossFit. Like if you're going to Zumba or whatever, good for you. You love it. You like dancing. You're moving your body. Like great. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, do whatever makes you happy.
I
think I've
also
done
did
it once.
Zumba once. I was behind the entire class.
It's horrible.
On that note, you had your personal trainer for a year, and then you found CrossFit, and then you were doing CrossFit. So I guess with the timeline, about like 4 years, or well, you've known Meredith for 4 or 5 years now. So
Yeah, 4 years.
what? And we're not here to push coaching. We just want to have an understanding of like the value that added, and like what changed for you, and why you signed up for a nutrition coach, and then, you know, having like Meredith in your life for this long, like how are you still benefiting? Like what are the major changes after that happened for you? Like were you familiar with macros? Did you start tracking macros right away? Like
Yeah. So I didn't start with macros right away. So I started, like I mentioned, with that shake diet, which obviously was not sustainable, not something I could do long term. So I did that for a while, and then like I did the paleo thing for a bit. We had like some nutrition challenges at the gym that were helpful in teaching me better habits, and kind of working on that. And then before Meredith, I worked with a different coach at a different company doing macro counting, and just did not like it at all. Didn't connect with the coach. Like didn't seem like they really cared. Like I was just kind of a number. In fact, I think they sent me my macros one time and it had like a different person's name on them. I was like, okay, that's cool.
Wicked.
Yeah. And then, 2017 started working with Meredith and Tactic. And I think, I was with you before Tactic as well, but we started working together. And like, it just like from the start, like it seems like you actually cared. Like I wasn't just like another number, like you actually actively tried to like get to know me and what was important to me. And, you know, figured out my numbers based on that and like what my goals were. And at the time, I think it was like a combination of still trying to lose some weight, but also like, start making improvements in the gym, you know, getting better at CrossFit, cause that was kind of important to me. Back then it's where I really kind of started to try and make that transition to more performance stuff, I think. Like I said, just like having that relationship being built on like trust and understanding and knowing that like you actually cared was super important, and just holding me accountable. Like I don't know, I just like your style. Like if I do something, like you'll tell me if I'm being a jerk, or you'll be like why do you think you did that, or like it's just making me think about my choices instead of being like, well, that was dumb, like, you know. And just really trying to build those better habits. And it's been the most sustainable thing that I've done so far. Obviously it's been 4 years. And I'm still going strong, getting stronger in the gym, getting better. So yeah, it's just highly recommend. 10 out of 10 stars.
do you ever see Meredith's name pop up on your phone and you're like, ugh?
I don't think so, because like even on sometimes like on like a
Ignore.
Monday, on like a Monday, if I'm like, oh, like my logs maybe weren't great this weekend, like I never like am actually that worried, that because she's never scolded me, like it's never like what the fuck were you doing? So I'm not sure if we can like swear, but like, like, bro, what are you doing? It's always like, oh, like I see you enjoyed this weekend. Like, oh, yeah, I did.
You had
But
two
like,
scones.
yeah, I had 2 scones this weekend. And I think part of that is like, also she knows that like it's more of a rare occurrence for me to like really overdo it or that type of thing. But yeah, I don't think it's ever the case where I see her name pop up and I'm like, oh fuck.
Oh God, it's
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure some people do feel that way though, but those are not people that I have stellar relationships with. Yeah, I think like there's with coaching. I think it's important. People have to come to their own conclusions and they have to make their own decisions. Like people hate being told what to do, even though some people crave that. Like that's what they sign up and that's what they say they want. People like it doesn't work. So like if I think I know what someone wants because they've told me what they wanted, I'm just going to find ways to remind them that that's what they want and get them to be like, oh, I should do this, which has historically been my approach with you. And, you've been really easy with it. So some people are less easy.
Oh, that's good to hear.
They're the
I
ones
don't
who
know.
are like, oh, shit. Yeah.
Most people that deal with me don't call it easy, but
Well, you're straightforward, and that means a lot. I hate guessing what's on people's mind, and I usually don't have to do that with you. So
yeah, I'm a terrible liar anyway. I don't like lying, but like I'm awful at it. I think even via text I would be pretty terrible at it. So
yeah, best just not to.
yeah.
Let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, so I guess one question, and this is something that we both deal with on occasion. I've dealt with it as a professional in a number of settings. I've dealt with it as an athlete, and it's just sometimes I almost feel like I don't deserve what I have, or like I'm not the person that I hold myself out as. And I think that it has a name, and it's called imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if, given the amount of change that you've had in your life, does that ever crop up for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually something I've been dealing with like a lot, not like a lot, but like I've kind of been more aware of recently, like just with like the coaching thing and like being like one of the, like more seasoned, I guess you would say, like I just been there longer at the gym, athletes, and having like realizing that people are looking up to you and they're looking at what you're doing. When, I first started, like nobody gave a shit what I was doing. Like I would show up, I'd do my workout and like whatever, nobody cared. But like these days, like people are like actively watching me and like, for me, it's just like, why? Like who am I for them to be like, oh, like I wonder what Allie's doing, or like what's her score today, or like what did she lift? Like it's just so weird to me coming from where I was, like being intimidated by these athletes to now having people like actually like look at me that same way. It's so surreal. And like some days, like I said, I'm just like why do they care? Like what who am I for them to look up to? Like I'm a hot mess most of the time, like tripping over shit and like can't get my stuff together. But I mean, I do look back and I'm like, yeah, like I'm a very hard worker. Like I am who I say. Like you get what you see with me. Like I'm not perfect, but like when you look at me and you talk to me, like you know what you're gonna get. I'm not gonna like lie. Like I said, I'm a terrible liar anyway, so I'm not even gonna try. But like, I am who I am, and people take it or leave it. If you want to look up to me, cool. I'm trying to like be better about appreciating that and realizing, I've worked hard and, it's some of that is kind of like, I don't want to say earned, but like, that's not what I want to say at all. But just accepting that like some people are where I was. So it's kind of like a 180 and trying to keep that in mind. And not be so intimidating at the gym because I just don't like small talk and I don't like initiate conversations, so people are like scared to talk to me. But
I know the
yeah,
feeling.
Yeah, that sounds really familiar.
So yeah,
I have two questions. The first question I have is, do you ever worry about like slipping back?
I think I used to. I don't think I really do now. I think like back when I was yo-yoing a little bit, it was really hard to like lose weight and then gain some back. You know, that was just such a mind game. But I think now I've just like developed such strong habits that like I'm not super concerned about it. Like I can have days where I like go way over my macros or have a few too many drinks, and I'm not gonna like freak out the next day, and I'm not gonna like not eat because I'm worried I'm gonna gain weight. So I don't really think now that I fear that, but it was definitely a fear like along the way for a while.
So just like learning that like a day off isn't going to throw you completely off, and like there's no such thing as a slippery slope for you, is just like having confidence in that, and those habits, and not missing like more than once or twice.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's okay to, you know, have a day here and there where like maybe I eat an entire pizza and like don't restrict the rest of the day. Maybe I had a scone too. Like that's fine. I'm not gonna not eat the next day because like I'm worried that it's gonna like start snowballing out of control, because like I know myself and I know that the habits that I've built are strong enough to like come back and just get back on track.
And then my last question, and you can just say pass if you don't want to talk about it. It's a little
Okay.
like maybe a little more personal, but
Sure.
what's your relationship with your body like now? Like, do you look in the mirror and you're like, holy shit, I look amazing. Like, I'm so proud of myself. Or some days you feel like that, and some days you're like, man, like, I still wish I looked like this. Or, like, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. And, again, you can go as deep as you want. I think I'm curious as a human being, like, having come so far, like, how do you see yourself? And, like, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think like anybody, it changes depending on the day, you know, and like where you're kind of at mental health wise that day. But like, honestly, like these days, I look in the mirror and like, not these days, but like probably back when I first started like really transitioning to like not focusing on weight loss, like I would look in the mirror and just be like, who is this? Like I look at old photos and like it's just so weird to see like the difference. Like some days I feel, you know, like it's hard to describe. Like in some ways I'll always feel like the fat kid, like I'll always see myself as overweight, but then in like some days I'm like can't even remember to what that was like being that overweight and like just unhappy and unhealthy. So yeah, like most days I look in the mirror and I'm like, fuck yeah, man, like look at me, look at what I did, you know, like it's awesome. And also going along with that, it's kind of difficult too, like, because yeah, I'm like, I look great, like, this is awesome. But then losing that amount of weight, like I have loose skin too, which I've talked about a little bit on Instagram, not like a ton, because it's like not my favorite topic. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's difficult, like, to kind of put those two together. Like I have a lot of muscles now, and like in some days I have abs, some days I don't, but I also have like loose skin. If I don't have like high-waisted leggings on, I personally feel kind of uncomfortable, just because I've got like the loose skin hanging around, and my legs are not anything I've ever been super comfortable with, so I'm always team legging, trying to get more comfortable with shorts, because I know nobody else gives a shit if I wear shorts or not.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a me thing, but yeah, for the most part, like super body positive and like accepting and thinking where I am now is really, really fucking cool compared to where I was. And not even just because I was overweight, just because like looking back at photos and stuff, like just unhappy, unhealthy, like looking at the difference between like my face and like the smiles or expressions, like is wild to me.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. Like that's really awesome. Made me smile to hear that. Have you ever like reached back out to your old like personal trainer and you're like, "Hey, thank you"?
I think I did like
Or
a
is she
few
just
years
off-
ago.
she-
Yeah, like I think when I officially lost 150 pounds, I think like two years ago. And I think like I made a post and I like reached out to her and I was like, you know, thank you for like your part in this. Like you really got me going. And I think we chatted a little bit. I don't talk with her a ton anymore, but I definitely reached out at that point, and was just kind of like, thank you, like, you know, you got this whole thing going, so I really appreciate your part in it.
Oh, super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we were going to ask sort of about how you perceive yourself differently, but we've already kind of touched on that. So I'm wondering if, I know I told you I might ask about core values because it's been a thing of mine for the last little bit, but you know, what are some of your core values? Like, and what I mean by that are, usually they're feelings, and it's things that, like, if you tap into each day, like you get to the end of the day and you think that was a good day. So what are a couple things that are just like super, super important to you? It can be anything at all.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like sound cliche or anything, but I think like like kindness, like for me right now, I'm big on like if I can make someone feel good about themselves, like I'm gonna do it. Like if I see someone doing something well, or like I can give them a compliment on something, like I'm gonna do it. It costs me nothing and it might make their day. Like just trying to make people feel good, I think is really important, especially these days. And I do a lot of that. I try to do a lot of that with humor sometimes. I mean, I always think I'm funny, but I don't know. Sometimes people probably don't have the same feelings about that. What else? This one's probably super cliche, but like authenticity, like I mentioned before, like with me, kind of like what you see is what you get. Like, I don't want people guessing, like when they talk to me, like, is she being truthful? Like, is she being honest? Like, and I want people to be able to rely on me. Like, I want to be known to be dependable and like setting the standard. Like, I'm super known at the gym for like being strict and enforcing like movement standards or like something like that. Like, I fucking hate burpees. So if I'm going to take the time to get full extension at the top, you bet your ass you are too, or I'm going to tell you. Like, it's just like stuff like that. Like, I'm a stickler for that. Like, and like just making sure that I do things the right way. Because we talked about like the imposter syndrome. Like, if people are looking at me, like, what are they seeing? You know, like, am I setting a good example? Am I not? And how do I want to be perceived? Like, so that, and I guess also just like always being open to learning, like learning new things. Like, there's a lot I don't know. Like, I don't know a lot about a lot. But I'm always trying to like get better and learn. Like coaching, I definitely try to observe other coaches and like see what they're doing that I think is cool and that I can work on. Or like even as an athlete, like how can I be a better athlete in a class? How can I just get better in life in general? How can I be a better person? Like, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. You definitely don't have to guess about what you're going to get with you, which is what I appreciate. I think, you know, I heard recently, like, you can judge, or you can see what a person's about. Like, it's not about what they put on Instagram. It's not about what they put in their bio. It's not even what they say is important to them. It's the things that they do each day. And I think you, like, the things you do each day do happen to align perfectly with the things that are important to you. So, that's really great to see, and it probably does help minimize the amount of imposter syndrome that you experience, because I think the more separation there is between what comes out of your mouth and the way that you behave each day, probably the worse that sensation gets.
Yeah, and for sure. And like Instagram, I think it's becoming better, but like people always say like it's a highlight reel. People post like the good stuff. I do a lot of dumb stuff, so I try to post everything. Like, yeah, I have PRs, like cool deadlift videos, but like I sent my chalk bag flying the other day because I had it too close to my double unders, made a huge fucking mess. Like, I trip over stuff almost like every day. Like, I'm a hot mess. So I think it's important to portray like everything. And I've been pretty open on like my Instagram about that stuff and like struggles, like mental health issues in general. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll kind of, I guess, start to wrap this up, hey? So our last question that we have is what your advice specifically would be for people who are just getting started, or just, you know, who want to get started with making some of the same changes that you did, improving their health, getting into the gym, losing a bunch of weight, but might be overwhelmed by the task or the idea of the task. So what would be your advice for those people?
Again, it's like kind of cliche, but like just start. It's super scary no matter what you're doing, right? Like if you're going to walk into a Zumba class or you're going to do CrossFit or a personal trainer, like if you're starting from a point where you're trying to make a big change, it's scary. Like it's not an easy thing to do. So really just start, like just do it, and find something that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be CrossFit. It doesn't have to be Zumba, whatever. It doesn't have to be macro counting necessarily. Like just find something that you can sustain and do and that you enjoy, and just start, just do it. Like it's never too late, obviously. Like it can be, I don't know where I was going with that, but like, yeah, it's never too late to start. Like just make a decision and do it. Stop being wishy-washy, commit and put in the effort, get it done.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like, I know I said that's my last question, but something just popped in my head. Did you ever feel at any point like you were failing?
That's a good question. I don't know if I would say failing. Like I mentioned, there's definitely times where like I would kind of like gain weight back. Like I think the first couple years of CrossFit, like I would try the paleo thing, and then I would just go back to like eating McDonald's. Like, yeah, man, I did an hour CrossFit class. I can totally have this 2 cheeseburger meal. Like it's totally offsets it. Like no big deal. So like there was definitely times where I would like revert to old habits. But I don't necessarily think I would say it was failing, because I stuck with it. Like I was never like, I'm giving up. Like that's what I would consider failing. Like if I just given up. But I always got back on track and like knew that I could do it.
That's awesome. I had a one last question as well. I had a client once. She was with me for 6 months, and it was she lost like 30 pounds, and it was like not an extreme transformation, but we kind of like reset and helped her on the path to establishing good habits, and then she was going to go on and sustain those and make them like super solid on her own, which she's been doing. But she said at the end, she was like, time goes by anyways. Like people think like, oh, 6 months, it's going to take me 6 months to lose 20 pounds. It's going to take me like 5 years to lose 150. Like when something's going to take me that long, why even start almost? Like but what's weird is, and we've talked about this, I think before, like a graduate degree or getting like a muscle up or snatching 100, that takes years, like 3 years. A lot of things that are worth doing take at least a year. And like, I think what people think with weight loss, and you can correct me here if this wasn't your experience, and it seems like this wasn't your experience, is that they think that like losing weight requires this like complete like transformation of their lifestyle, when really it's just like being a little bit better than you were. And you can still like do the things in your life that you were already doing. It's not like you have to put everything on the sidelines and only focus on weight loss for 6 months or a year or 5 years. It's like it can be something that is a priority alongside all of your other priorities. It just takes a couple like changes. So I guess my question is like, for you, like, did you ever look at it like, oh, this is going to take so long? Or did you ever just think, I have to start somewhere, I'm just going to start and see where it goes, and it takes me what it takes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit of a mixture. Like at first, I think it was just like, like you said, I have to start somewhere. Like I don't know what my end goal. I didn't know what my end goal was at that point. Like just trying to not die young, that initial outset. But yeah, I think that was like, I just need to start and like get going. Like I didn't have expectations of like being here 8 years later, or like a specific like weight loss goal in mind. So it didn't feel super daunting to me at first. I mean, in a way it did, because it's like I have this like big obstacle in my weight to overcome to be healthier, but I wasn't like, it's going to take me however many years, and I didn't have expectations of that until probably like after I started CrossFit. I was like kind of on this journey where I was, like I said, kind of going back and forth between losing and gaining, and at that point I think it started to seem like a little bit more daunting. Like, can I actually do this? Like get where I want to be? Like I've already lost weight, but like I know that I can do more. But I just hadn't found like the right fit, like nutritionally for me. Like I couldn't figure out how I wanted to eat or anything like that, or be consistent with CrossFit as much as I wanted to be. So I think at one point, probably like halfway through, it started to become a little bit daunting and like kind of question like whether or not I could do it. But it's just, yeah, like people see that how long it's going to take and they're like, oh, what's the point? But like, you're going to be somewhere in a year anyway. Like, why not be better? Like, yeah, it might take some time, but like, you're gonna, whether or not you start now, a year's gonna go by, and where do you want to be? Like,
It's like, what else are you doing?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, where do you, if you had, I guess sometimes I put it like this, like, where would you be if you had started 6 months ago or a year ago? And then think about that and think about that, you know, like I could be answering that question in a much different way if I started today, kind of thing.
Yep.
But yeah.
That's cool. Last thing before we wrap it up, because you are a CrossFitter, I do have to ask, what is your favorite benchmark CrossFit workout?
Oh, DT, hands down.
Oh God.
That's Alex's
Barbell cycling.
favorite. I bet your DT
Not a
time's
question.
way faster than Alex.
Probably.
That's amazing.
Oh.
What is your DT time?
Oh man, 4 something, I think. We haven't done it
Yeah,
in like a
that's
year
fast.
or
Wow.
two. High 4s, I
You're
think,
probably
though.
not
Like,
convulsing nearly as much as me at the end. Just like holding the bar over.
ugh.
Right? Yeah, that one's pretty icky. That's awesome. Well, did you have anything else that you wanted to add before I wrap this up?
No, I mean, I don't think so. It's covered a lot, I think.
Yeah, I feel like we really got in there. So thanks for sharing. Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
what's like? Is there anything coming up for you, like in the near term?
Not really. I'm trying to just kind of having some like funky health stuff right now, so I'm kind of just trying to have expectations of like working out and getting the best workout in I can every day. Got some like local competitions coming up, I think, in the early part of the year, so I might try to do one of those with some friends. But again, like not having much in the way of expectations. Would love to go back to Wadapalooza someday to compete in like the scaled or intermediate, maybe like 2023 if I my body, my old joints can handle it.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, nothing in the immediate future.
Cool. I love Wadapalooza. That's a great one.
It was a lot of fun.
I
Definitely.
get sick every year I go, but I keep going. I don't know. I always get sick after that competition. It's like the only time I ever get sick.
I don't think I got
Immune
sick, but
system.
my favorite memory was probably one of the pull-up workouts, and it was raining, and I just could not get a grip on the bar because I'm not great at gymnastics anyway. But like I went full send on a kipping pull-up and just went completely ass over tea kettle and like landed on one of those pads like on my back neck. And like I think my favorite part is like my friend was videoing it, like our team mom, and you could just hear her in like the frame go, "You're okay," like whispering, like I could hear her saying to me like, "You're all right." And then I get up, like I hadn't done one pull up. I try to run back and tag out and get like a teammate, just be like, "I'm done." And the judge is like, "No, you have to do at least one pull up, every team member." And like the look I gave this man, the look that I gave this man when he said that to me, I was
No, you're giving me a
livid.
pass.
You're like, dude,
Like-
this is the scale division.
Did you see what just happened, sir? Like I could have died.
This is not the circus.
So yeah, I ran back. I did, I think, one strict pull up and then like glared at him again and then ran off and tagged out.
Like,
But
you're dead to me.
yeah, aside from that judge, great experience. Would definitely recommend.
I definitely remember seeing that video now that you say that, so that's really funny.
Yeah, I enjoy putting that one in
Yeah.
slow-mo for sure.
Alex has a really great slow-mo video from Wadapalooza also.
Oh yeah, I think
it
I've
was
seen
the
that.
running one where it was in the sand and I caught my toe and just went like, I was right at the front. I'm lucky I didn't die in the stampede, really.
Could have been trampled for
Actually.
sure.
And then I was like, oh, bye. I was like, maybe I'll finally beat her in a running work. Nope. No, I won't. Noted. Yeah, that's a good time.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up with, like, you're going to finish some thoughts.
Cool,
Fill
cool.
in the blank. It's going to be fun. So,
Yeah.
you ready?
Sure.
We're ready. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So finish these thoughts. It all comes down to
The bottom line. Oh, sorry, not me.
not you.
I mean, if you want to go,
Scrap-
like,
Yeah, it all comes
so
down
you guys put this
to-
out there a lot. yeah, like I think you guys put this out there a lot, but like effort over outcome. I think it's effort. Like in anything you do, like how much effort are you willing to put in? Like if you want to lose weight, how much effort are you willing to put in to make changes? If you want to get better at the gym, how much effort and time are you willing to invest? Like anything you do, like even new relationships or friendships, like what amount of effort are you willing to put in to make that work? Like I think everything comes down to that piece.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite answer. I feel like we should just stop on
That's
that
my
one.
mantra. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A good day is.
A good day is sleeping in with no alarm, going to a really fun CrossFit class, ideally with very few burpees and lots of barbell cycling. Definitely follow that with a very good cup of coffee and a scone. And then maybe like some quality time with friends and family, like sharing good laughs, is a pretty good day.
That's a good one. My purpose is.
My purpose. That's a tough one. I think that changes. Like 8 years ago, if you asked me what my purpose was, I'd be like, yeah, man, my purpose is to rip some beer bongs and play slow pitch softball and like just have a good time. I think it's like ever changing, right? So like,
that answer.
like my purpose now, I think, like I said, like is just to kind of be happy and make other people happy if I can, like, and if I can positively impact someone's life, be it like just as a fellow athlete in a CrossFit class or as a coach or as a friend, like I think just trying to leave the best impact that I can, I think right now is what I think my purpose is.
Awesome. I believe that.
Small talk should be illegal, and I will fight about it.
Yeah.
I am right there with you.
I think it's bullshit and it shouldn't be a thing. No, I believe that you can do anything. Like it's again, like I keep going back to cliche, but like you set your mind to something. If you're willing to put in the effort, I think that you can achieve whatever you want to. Like here I am 8 years later, never would have thought I would be where I am right now. Like, so yeah.
Good one. Success
is just being happy, which is obviously difficult, especially in the current times, to kind of navigate, but just finding things daily that bring you joy and happiness, and, you know, whether it's spending time with loved ones or friends or, you know, going to CrossFit, just finding what makes you happy and doing that, I think is pretty much what's going to be, what makes you successful.
I am.
A hot mess. No, like, I guess like just a continued work in progress, right? Like I don't know what I am. You know, I'm trying to kind of figure that out day by day and see like constantly reevaluating like where I want to be in life as opposed to where I am. And just kind of learning and growing, from there. It's a hard one to define. But yeah.
I think a work in progress is actually the perfect answer to that one for everybody. So
Yeah.
I think you nailed it. Not what I had in mind with it, but that's better than what I had in mind.
I would have answered enough.
Awesome.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, work in progress is really, that's such a deep meaning, and that's like a thing that's also been sticking with me in addition to the core values. It's like, you know, we're all works in progress. You're never finished.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you think you're finished with something, like, just like hang it up. Like, you're never done. So.
No.
All right, last one, best one. Love is.
I like that you're asking like the singlest of single people what love is. But no, I know it's like outside of like romantic relationships too, but I think for me, love is just spending quality time and like enjoying moments and experiences with people that you care about, people that know all of you and like accept you, good, bad, otherwise. Like I'm kind of a nightmare sometimes, but I'm still lucky enough to have a lot of people that care about me and stick around, despite some of my crabbiness and tendencies to be grumpy. So yeah, I think it's like, you know, when I think about it, I like sitting around the table with my family and we're all laughing and sharing that moment, or like when I think back to like my last clean PR, my friend in the background like celebrating more aggressively and getting so excited, like more excited than I was, like, or when I'm having a bad day, like a friend coming and just sitting quietly with me. Like it's stuff like that that you can't really, I don't know. It's hard to express. It's just like moments and feelings of contentment.
Yeah, it's acceptance, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good answer.
I think so.
Oh, thanks.
Well, we've loved this podcast. I knew I was gonna love it, and I've loved it way more than I thought I was gonna love it. So we really appreciate your time and your openness and sharing everything about what you've done. I think it's really really awesome. Even on a surface level, what you've done is amazing. Hearing like your approach to it, your attitude, your struggles, your successes, it makes it even more amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on here. I'm not a great speaker, so this was, it's good to get out of your comfort zone growing, right? A work in progress. So
Exactly.
this was good for me, despite a lot of scattered thoughts going around. So thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. It wasn't that scattered, so.
Good.
If people want to keep up with you and what you're doing, where do they do that?
I am obviously on Instagram, as we talked about, at Barbells and Bad Decisions. Seems like a pretty appropriate name.
Handle.
Yeah. I also am on TikTok. I don't really post much because like I'm old, like I'm an old TikToker, and it takes me hours to figure out how to make a 15-second TikTok. So you can follow me there, but you're not going to see much. Definitely Instagram is where I'm most active, if you wanted to follow along or care to.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, thanks again. And, we'll obviously talk soon, but it's been awesome having you on.
Yeah.
It's been great talking to you as somebody who has never really talked to you, and like let me, and you allowed me to ask some like personal and tough questions. I really appreciate every single one of your answers. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Sweet.